Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is more Bad Business gameplay, and today we're going to be discussing the new map that has been added to the game, and I'm playing it right here. It is called Factory. So, this has been a map that's been teased for quite some time now. I think it's been in that testing server that some people have access to, and I know there's been a ton of tweaking and testing and trying to make it as good as it can possibly be. And I think as a whole, I think the map is a success. I like the map, and I'm playing a whole lot of it because it's getting picked in the rotation a fair amount. We're playing on King of the Hill here, which I do think is probably the best way to play the map because it funnels everybody towards a central choke point, gives everybody a collective goal, and I really think that Bad Business shines when there is that goal. Of course, grenades become a problem. You know, the spawns can be quite interesting. There are a few things that can go against the King of the Hill format, but fundamentally, it does translate itself to some pretty contested and pretty hectic gameplays. And the game that you're watching here is me attempting to level up my MP5 but getting outshot and then swapping over to the SMO3 because I really wasn't feeling the MP5 and I still don't. I think the gun has got nice recoil, but everything else just makes it feel like an inferior version of all the other submachine guns I've been using. And I think when they add the attachments to give the MP5 a couple more bullets, I think it could be really, really dangerous. But as it stands, it's a gun that I just don't feel very deadly when I use it. And most of the guns in this game make you feel really deadly, especially this gun. This prototype weapon that I purchased with the credits that I was saving up. This gun has incredibly high damage up close, and it's got one of the best reloads in the game for me. I really love the way it reloads. I'm having a ton of fun with it. But this is Factory. This is a very frustrating King of the Hill for me. I felt like the enemy team wanted to win this a lot more than my team did, and I feel like I had to just play my ass off the whole time. And then at the end of it, my own team accused me of cheating, which I thought was pretty funny, and tried to kick me, which is just fantastic. But what can you do, you know, you try your best, and nobody appreciates you. Welcome to planet Earth. So, Factory. This is quite a large map in Bad Business standards, which I mean is, when you think about this map, it is not that big, it's quite close quartered. It's just, there's lots in it. Like, I feel like the signature of a lot of Bad Business maps is, they don't necessarily have to be the biggest maps, but they fill them with so much stuff that it makes them seem far bigger than they are. And fundamentally, this area is just kind of a courtyard that flanks this central factory, and then the outskirts all have buildings that you can go in as well. And there is an interesting flow to this, because once you play it a few times, I don't really like playing this game, this map on TDM too much because it feels like a bit of an Easter egg hunt with how many tiers, how many buildings, how many places people can hide. And one thing that you do learn on this game quite quickly is that the people that aren't very confident in playing, maybe the younger players, maybe the just the less gifted players when it comes to ability, they will hide in places and they'll find balconies, and then there'll be a bunch of people who just like hoard a balcony because it's strength in numbers or some kind of illusion of tactics. There's an interesting strategy going on there, and you'll just be running around a map, you'll not see anybody for ages, and then you'll jump into a window and you'll find a rat's nest of people that are too afraid to move or don't know the map, or perhaps they played quite defensively when they play shooters. Or you can kill yourself with a grenade like I just did because I'm a beast. But one of the things I noticed really quickly on this, especially on King of the Hill, is the spawns are super rigid, especially if you don't push them too much. So the position I was in just then before I killed myself, if you go out of that doorway, you can get on top of that van on your left and you can look directly over it, and that's where everyone's going to spawn. And in this game you'll notice, especially on this map, that people will spawn on top of you. The amount of times I've been killed by someone spawning directly behind me covered in spawn protection is really high, and I don't know what the old spawns were like, I don't know what the spawn logic's like. I still haven't got back to Ethan yet to do a discussion with him, which I'm really looking forward to doing via Discord or via text or however it ends up being done. But it's really interesting because I've got footage on this map of me running forward killing somebody, and then the paneling behind him, 5 dudes spawn, run around the corner and kill me instantly. And there's a lot of really unorthodox spawning going on this map, and I wonder if it is because when you take away the complexity of the layers, the tiers, the vaulted areas, it is quite a small surface. Like, you know, if you compare this to like something like Canal or something like the waterway map, this is considerably smaller, and I have been asking for a smaller map for a while. It's something that I'm definitely passionate about when it comes to first-person shooters, because I love the idea of having to just frantically kill everybody in a small space. It's kind of why I play games like this, you know? And this might be the closest to a kind of small map. I still don't think it's as small as the way Brazil plays, because Brazil I think is superb for that. But one of the areas that Brazil doesn't have that this map definitely has, in my opinion, is almost all of the surfaces here, almost all of the areas you can go to, have all been thought about from the movement perspective of the way movement works now. And of course, Brazil wasn't designed around the most recent movements, even though it has been redesigned. So there's a couple of areas where when you're moving with good mobility and you kick up a gap, you can't quite make some of the jumps. And some of them you can, and there's some that you think you could, but you can't, and so on and so forth. Whereas in this map, I've noticed that when I run full mobility, I can generally do almost every jump I try to do, from, you know, kicking off a box onto something, kicking off that, and then landing through a window and what have you. And it opens the door for a lot of mobility here, a lot of interesting opportunity to outplay and to get into positions people don't expect you to do. And it's interesting because the common bad business player, they're not going to play the map like that at all. They're going to run around on the ground like a lot of people you're seeing here as I get just aid strafed into death, which is good play on that player. Just absolutely bodied me with movement. But like there's so many opportunities to do the things that aren't expected. It's just most people you come across aren't expecting anything other than you just to hold W and charge at them with a helmet on. So it's kind of cool that there are these multiple positions to outplay people and to get into interesting spots. But the majority of the user base will never use them because they'll never think on that lateral, you know, and it's cool. It's cool that it gives you the opportunity to look at the movement on a deeper level rather than a surface level. But if you want a surface level, it's there as well. That person there, the lyrical alphabet, the guy hiding behind that box, he is one of the people that initiates the kick on me after this. One of the people that is apparently not impressed with my playstyle. He's here again, and I've got to give him props as much as he's a bitch, because he is playing the objective as I get taken out by a bot with a FAL. There's always a bot with a FAL. You got to give him respect too, because the FAL is not an easy gun to use. That was one of those guns I tried out early on and I took it off in like a frame. But the enemy team is always on this area, and I'm going to get shotgunned here. I remember that. Interesting, isn't it, the Remington? It's obviously a skillful weapon, because if you don't hit with it, you just get wrecked. But if you do hit with it at the right range, it can be undefeatable. Well, throw a grenade. He's back again with his shotgun. I get to redeem myself. This is a much stronger range for me, though. And then I get cleaned up from behind. But do you see what I mean? It's not often when I play games on Bad Business, when I'm having a decent game, where I'm having this kind of trouble leaving my spawn and getting to an objective, but the enemy team have the momentum here. They're on the point. My team are all standing around in the spawn, doing whatever it is that teammates do in this game to be so incompetent. And the enemy team has some capable players too. And you have to rise to the occasion in matches like this, because a lot of the times you're just going to lose them. And at this moment in time, I'm just going to put myself on the hill and do my best. But I think Factory is definitely a triumph for me. When I first played it, I thought it seemed okay, and now I've played it a whole bunch, I definitely can see the strength of it. I do think that the spawns are a bit rough. There's this room I just left, that spawn room. The amount of times you can get multiple people spawning in that room while you're still in it on the enemy team. Like, the amount of times I've got spawned on by 4 or 5 people. There's definitely some interesting spawns, and it reminds me a little bit of COD 4, because in COD 4, if you were intelligent and if you were aggressive, you could keep a spawn in place and just kill people and move around and be a menace. It took a decent amount of pressure to break spawns in Call of Duty 4 and then flip them. And Bad Business, usually, the levels that have the bad spawn traps are very noticeable, because you'll keep somebody in a spawn trap for far long because the spawns are quite hard to break and quite hard to flip, and then they'll flip and then you'll go the other side, and the whole game is push them into the back of the spawn, it flips, and then you chase the other side. Whereas in Factory, you don't generally get to the point where you usually break the spawn a lot of the times, because you generally get spawned on so heavily, especially if your team is capable and it's killing. Oh, there's Lyrical, did you see him? It's an interesting playstyle, isn't it, to just kind of hide under geometry like that, and then you get killed by the level 0 dude with the P90. But I do like the tier 2 of this area, all the second stories, the second tiers of the platforming, because you can do some interesting stuff to getting windows. Just getting bodied right now, absolutely destroyed. Level 26 on the SMO3, we've got the monolithic suppressor. It's time to move on to the next gun and see how that fares. The next gun I'm going to be doing is the Sten. I've just got enough credits to pick it up and see how good it is. I'm quite looking forward to it, because I've leveled the MP5 now. Still not impressed with that gun as much as it has no recoil. And the next gun I get is the Ares Shrike, which has 100 rounds, and I'm real excited to see that. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen, there's some gameplay on the new map. How are you finding it? I think it's really, really strong in some ways and kind of weak in some other ways, but all in all, I'm having some of the best games on it too. Really competitive coths. Outside of the Easter Bunny fucking hunt on TDM at times, which is really frustrating when you can't see anybody because they're all just hiding in one strange spot you haven't found yet. I think it flows really well. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.